mature audience here and the kids. You cannot hit a target that you cannot see, and everybody has to have goals. We set those goals when we were 12 years old, and we were competing against each other to achieve those goals. So I'm going to give you guys a bunch of little lessons, and what I want to do, I want you to follow these things when you go home, and these are my lessons. So the first one will be setting goals. Now please write that down in that sense, because we'll go over a quick lesson at the end. So now we're setting goals, right? You got time? You wrote it? You good? You good? All right. So now let me tell you who those two kids were. We were 12 years old, and one of those kids became Hype Williams, a very famous movie director and video director. The other kid was Doni, a very famous music executive, and then myself, Daymond. And sooner or later, those 12-year-old kids would control the industry 15 years later by the path that we made. Now, I'm out there making clothes and I'm selling clothes and I'm doing exactly what I love to do. And I'm going up the ladder, I'm going on tour with LL Cool J. And then all of a sudden, a comment was made by a brand. And the brand was called Timberland. And Timberland made this comment, and the comment said, "We do not sell our boots to drug dealers." And that was the comment. Now, the next point that I want to make is homework. You have to do your homework. So for all those entrepreneurs, this is how Timberland failed. Timberland makes, as I always say to people, the best boot in the world. And if you make the best boot in the world and your consumer buys that best boot if they're hiking or camping, what happens? You do not have to buy another boot for a year or 2 years because it is the best boot in the world. But if your consumer is buying it for a fashion and an aesthetic, and as soon as the boot gets dirty or it has any kind of wrinkles in it, they're buying another one. So now that consumer, who I was buying it 3 times a month. And that means that 80% of Timberland's business was coming from consumers who were buying it from an aspect of being fashion. And not doing your homework, which is my second point, potentially destroyed them. And many other companies this happened to. I went home after hearing this comment, and I said, I have to come up with a company and a name that's going to be proud of the consumer that they sell to. It's going to put these people in the ads. It's going to say that I make profit off these people as well as I invest back into them. So I came up with the name, and I remember putting it on a shirt and a hat. And I remember the first day walking outside with that name. I was walking down the street, and I had the name on, and the name was FUBU. That's the name I was walking down the street with. Now, I didn't know this, but a girlfriend of mine had a brother who was gay, and he came up and gave me the biggest, sloppiest, wettest kiss on my cheek and said, I always knew that about you, and I'm glad that you finally have learned to express yourself. So then I realized that FUBU down south doesn't really stand for what I thought it would stand for. So I had to reevaluate the name, and change my phone number, because he kept calling me. So I changed the name from FUBU to FUBU, and FUBU started. And what I did with FUBU was I went out, and I remember I was selling a couple of shirts, just screen printed t-shirts, but I went uptown one day looking for a hat, and I couldn't find this hat. When I found the hat, it cost $20, and it was a very simple hat to make. You had to sew one end of it and then tie the other end, and a rap group named De La Soul used to wear this. And again, this was one of the uniforms of hip-hop. I went home and I made about 40 of those hats, or 50 of those hats or something like that, and I remember standing on the corner selling those hats in the Jamaican Coliseum. And I sold $800 worth of hats that day. So I realized at that point, I remember driving home and I was counting that money. $800. Bam! And of course, I hit a car in the rear end, count the money. And who knows how much it costs to fix that person's bumper? $800, right? All right. But if you lose, don't lose the lesson. So what happened was I had gotten the bug, and I realized that I had a company, I had a way to make money over something that I was proud of. And I started making the FUBU product. Now, I knew LL Cool J. I didn't know him that well, but I was on tour with him, but I knew him well enough to try to get some product on him. So what did I do? Three of my friends came and they started to work with me while all the other guys would laugh at us and say, well, you know, you're making clothes and we're out here selling drugs and this and that. But when you find a nucleus of people who want to support you, you can start feeding off each other, and we start to ignore them, even though they were making a lot of money. And we started making a couple of shirts. So it took about 2 years, and what we did was we had 10 shirts. And those 10 FUBU shirts, we would go and sit on video sets, and we would put it on the artist and take them back. And put it on and take it back. And wear it on a date, and dry clean it sometimes, and then put it on another artist, and take it back. 2 years later, we were on about 30 videos, everything from Mariah Carey to Old Dirty Bastard to LL Cool J, and we were perceived as this huge company. But we were 10 shirts. That was it. Now, a local hero, I call him Ralph McDaniels, he had a video show, and he said, wow, you know what, let's put you on TV. So he put us on television. And now we started actually getting press for what we were doing and who we were. And I was working at Red Lobster at the time, so people would come to Red Lobster and say, yeah, aren't you that FUBU guy? And I'd be like, yeah. And they'd be like, man, I love your stuff. Now go get me some tartar sauce. And whatever the case is, but I was, you know, perception becomes reality. People go, we were this huge company. So now I had to find a way to become a huge company. What did I do? I went to LL and said, L, I need a spokesperson, man. You know, Nike has Michael Jordan, and I need Michael Jordan, and I need you to tell me how to get a big celebrity spokesperson. And LL said, well, listen, you need to go to Andre Harrell or Russell Simmons or Mike Tyson, and you need to stalk them. I'm telling you, don't let them out of your sight. You know, put pressure on them. Never let them go and don't ever take no for answer. You need to stalk them. So I went back home and I said, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to stalk them. Who can I stalk, and you know, who can I get to be the spokesperson? So me and all the guys got a couple of beers and we set up a tent on LL's lawn that night to start stalking LL, because we didn't know how to get to anybody else. So we just figured the closest one was LL Cool J. Right? And I remember seeing them peeking out the shades and asking the manager, will we still outside? And we were roasting s'mores and having you know, some beers. And we told them, when you come outside, I would like you to take a picture. And L, finally, we realized that he had to take a flight to go film a TV show called In the House that he was on. And we knew that he was coming out. So when he came out, he said to me, I remember him saying, listen, he's like, yeah, you're crazy. But I can't really do this because Nike and a lot of other people are looking at me, and most likely you won't make it anywhere because this is a very hard business. And if I take this shot, I will, and you put it in any kind of magazine, I will jeopardize all these sponsorships I have. And then he said to me, but you know what, I'm going to take a shot with you, and if you ever get anywhere, make sure you take care of it. And of course, we took that shot. And when we took that shot, we went and made about 1,000 copies of it and sent it to all the stores and all the magazines around the country. We sent it to all the stores, and what happened? We said to the stores, we understand that there's a trade show in Vegas called Magic, and we will be at the Magic show showing these FUBU clothes with LL Cool J, the picture of it, all these videos running, and now you need to come and buy FUBU clothes. Now, by hook or crook, we got out to Magic. We went on standby. My mother was a flight stewardess, and we went on standby, or we would go to California and drive to Vegas. And the show was at the convention center, but we didn't have enough money to have a booth at the convention center, so we stayed at the Mirage, which is about 5 miles away. But we told everybody we were going to be at that Mirage hotel. Now, it's 6 guys, because we brought 2 other guys to help us. 6 guys staying in a 1-bed room in the Mirage Hotel with all the clothes we're showing, our underwear sunny side up all over the floors. Of course, we were sleeping head to toe, all over the place, right? Now, if you ever remember the Honeymooners, there was an episode where Ralph had to get a fortune. He was, you know, somebody would say, well, to Ralph Brandon, I bequeath my fortune. And there was a will that he was being read. And Ralph and Norton decided to bring an empty suitcase because they felt that when somebody was reading them the will, they would walk away with the cash right there. So every time the young lady would say, I bequeath my fortune, Ralph would hit Norton and say, get the bags, Norton, get the bags. We're about to get out of here. What happened was, I took an empty suitcase out to Vegas because I thought that the stores were just going to come in there with hundreds of thousands of dollars and actually put it in the suitcase. So every time somebody would write an order, I thought they were going to go down to the ATM and bring out the money, and I would say to my friends, get the bags, get the bags. We wrote $300,000 in orders at that trade show. Now, $300,000 in orders is something that I never would have thought I would write, but the way we work in the business is we are on a credit system. But I was happy going home. I was happy as hell. I had $300,000 in orders on the flight home, and then it hit me, the reality. I had to make $300,000 worth of clothes. All right, no problem. That's easy. I'm going to go to the bank and get what they always tell me. I can go get a small business loan. That's not a problem. Let me write this whole thing out here. Now, going back to homework, I didn't do my homework on how to write up a real small business loan or a proposal. So, no problem. I got turned down by 5 banks, then 15 banks. And finally, I didn't even know there were 27 banks. But I got turned down by every single one of them. All right. So now I had to close the business. But my mother and I, we had owned a house, and we had always invested in the mortgage because it was initially owned by my mother and my father, and I kept up the mortgage. I've been working since I was 10 years old and haven't stopped working since. And she said, you know what, if you want to mortgage the house, go mortgage the house. So I mortgaged the house, and I got $120,000 to mortgage the house. And immediately, I came home because I didn't have any money to get rid of anything. I came home and me and all the guys dragged all the furniture out the house into the backyard. We brought in sewing machines and we put an ad in the paper for seamstresses to come in and start sewing the clothes. And we started burning the couches and the television and the kitchen table. We started burning all that in the backyard because we didn't have any money to get rid of anything else. So there was this big cloud of smoke over my house for about 2 months because we'd have to go out there and keep burning it. But we put sewing machines in, and we would sleep next to the sewing machines. And we did this for about 2 years. We would sleep next to them, and we would be a makeshift factory in the middle of Hollis, Queens for 2 years. And we were having a ball. We were making clothes, we were shipping clothes, and we were selling clothes, and it was going great. Until all of a sudden, we started getting more and more orders.